So good morning, good day, everybody. We're going to go through 10 pairs today, starting with Pound USD, Euro USD, USD JPY, Euro Yen, Euro Pound USD CAD, Aussie Dollar USD, Pound JPY, New Zealand Dollar USD, Euro New Zealand Dollar. Just remember the 10 pairs that we're going to be going through today is analysis for Monday. For Monday, at least for 24 hours before we come back to the markets on Tuesday and reanalyze them in the morning, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is just go over the calendar just to check what news there is next week, just clearing some of these charts so we have a fresh template to work with, and then we'll start with Pound USD. Okay, so the calendar that we have here for next week, starting Monday, November the 30th, we have all day red news for OPEC meetings. Okay, that would be interesting. So just be mindful of that, okay? Usually Mondays, we want to see what the market's doing, get a directional bias, see where the gaps feel, etc., etc. And then probably go from Tuesday if we have OPEC meetings all day, just be wary of that. Tuesday, we have Aussie Dollar news in the morning, so that's completely fine. We'll have a bias with that currency for London session at least. And then we have 3 p.m. news on USD, red folder news, which you see highlighted here. So hopefully we should be finished by then and our trading day should be over. Wednesday, we have more Aussie dollar news midnight. So again, we'll see how that fluctuates next week. And then we have a red folder news again at 3 o'clock. Bear in mind for USD, US dollar. Okay. Thursday, we then have orange folder news for US dollar at 1:30 p.m. So around the New York open time. So just be wary of that. And then Friday is non-farm. No, it's not. It looks like it is. Yes. Employment change, unemployment rate, non-farm employment change, unemployment rate. Wow. Interesting. A lot of news next week. Let's see if we can bang this out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and get out of the markets. So let's start taking a look at some of these pairs, breaking down some of the behaviors, understanding some of the structures here. Let's pop a full chart on and let's take a look at this. Any questions, just pop them in the chats and then I'll be able to answer them for you, okay? So my first thought process when looking at this structure here is I just want to take a look at the overall picture, which is a structure to the upside. I don't really want to use green, so let's see if we can change this back to red. Perfect. So a structure to the upside. What's really positive about this is we can see that the market has been pushing to the upside for a very long period of time. On the way up, it hasn't really stalled too much. We did have an area here where price stalled, but we didn't break any of these structural lows, as you can see here. So this was nice confirmation that we were continuing this bullish trend to the upside. Now, what we can see here, based on this behavior, price created a higher low, then created a new higher high, and then we can see a new higher low was formed. Now, once this new higher low was formed, what we expect the market to do is eventually make a new higher high. As you can clearly see here, the markets haven't done that, and we're starting now to, I would say, move sideways, starting to range, and at the same time getting confirmation of price failing to break above some of these structures. Now, what could that mean? Well, there's a few things we can look at here. Price could potentially be reversing. Buyers could be taking profits, sellers could be stepping into the markets. So much could be happening right now. But what we have to really look at is the bigger picture. So the way I see this was the uptrend to the upside is now starting to deplete. We can see that the markets are now respecting structural lows and structural highs, meaning that we're ranging. And now when we're in a ranging market, the simplest thing that I want to see just to confirm a directional bias is one or two things. I'm going to be looking for price to break structural highs to confirm this bullish trend to the upside. Once that happens, I'll be looking for a retest and then a continuation. And if price does continue to show signs that it's failing to break above structure, indicating a potential reversal on this market structure, then it would make a lot of sense that price would eventually break this structural low to then look for this retest and a continuation. Now, based on the fact that we're looking for true confirmation, obviously from a 4H perspective, I reckon that a break below the structure, price leaving, coming back, showing a candle close, in itself should take about 12 hours, okay, from a higher time frame perspective. Now, if the market gaps up, then you have 4-hour candles, then the break, then leaving, then coming back, then candle closing, looking about 16 hours. Just if everything works out perfectly, that's what we'll be looking for. I don't suspect that we'll be trading Pound USD on Monday from a high time frame perspective. Now, from a lower time frame perspective, you have two major key levels here, structural high and a structural low. A break above or below this structure with a strong momentum candle indicating that bearish sentiment and kicking off those lower time frame trends could get you into a trade looking for potential targets at these lows or following this overall trend and looking at potential higher highs, okay? So I would say let's just let this one develop on Monday, figure out what it's doing, and then go from there. But as of now, a simple plan to avoid taking trades that we shouldn't be taking is just waiting for the range to be broken to the upside or downside, and then looking for some sort of continuations or reversals. Does this make sense, chat? Okay, perfect. Let's take a look at the next pair. So Euro USD. So let's just gauge something here just very quickly because we need a bias as we're going through the rest of the pairs. We're seeing pound strength, depletion in pound strength, not necessarily dollar strength and not necessarily pound strength at the moment because of the range. So we're 50-50 here with those two currency strengths. Now let's take a look at Euro USD. Now we can see here that Euro USD has been moving up for some time. So the structure of the market has continued to make higher highs and higher lows. Granted, it's not been the cleanest of structures, but we did stick around this area for a very long time. We wasn't able to break above the structure, and then eventually we did break above it. After the break, you got a really nice retest, which makes a lot of sense. If the market is ranging, it's not breaking to the upside or downside, making subliminal lower highs and higher lows, and then showing signs that it's failing to break. Once you get this break above, what you're anticipating is the exhaustion, not necessarily a retest, doesn't need to be a retest, but an exhaustion, pullback, whatever you want to call it, before then a continuation to the upside. We don't want to buy up here. We always want to buy on the pullback or the exhaustion. So this makes sense when you have this confluence, which is a really nice key level, a break above structure, which is another really nice key level, and then the pullback, which is another really nice confluence. Three confluences there to take a break and retest trade. And as you can see, Bob's your uncle on this one. Now, the market structure is making or has made a new higher high at the close of Friday. What I would suspect, just as the rules go, we don't want to take a buy at the top of a push phase. We want to see the market pull back and create some sort of retest of structural exhaustions, and then looking for those wick rejections at key levels or in and around those key levels. I would say now we have a major level here in the market where price stalled for quite some time. We're talking here now, what, 12, 16 hours, 20 hours worth of information to indicate price stalling. What we could be looking for next week is for price to do one or two things if we're going to continue this trend to the upside. Firstly, we need to monitor how the market's gap, either to the upside or downside, and then wait for those corrections, and then see if price can come back to some of these areas in the market for a retest before a continuation. For high time frame traders, this pair Euro USD looks really good for potential trading opportunities, and I personally would be looking in and around these areas here. I personally would say I would monitor more of the wick areas, but actually, I would be very satisfied for price to come back down here and then look for some sort of wick rejections, retests, strong bullish candles to the upside, looking for those lower time frame trends to get in early on a higher low or double bottom, and then looking for these continuations. Now, just understand this, the market on Monday could absolutely flip and turn the other way. Seeing as we're seeing slight dollar strength on pound USD, pound was rallying just as euro's been rallying, but we can see that the dollar is holding the market on pound USD, not allowing the market to continue to push up. So don't be shocked if you see this absolutely flip on us on Monday/Tuesday. We'll come back to Tuesday. We'll come back on Tuesday and we'll revisit this. A simple plan. That's all we'll be looking for. This lower structure or key level that I've drawn here is only an indication that even if price breaks this structure, we're still not sell bias. As long as price is above this key level, the structure is still bullish. Okay, but the retest level is what I'll be looking for in and around here, just to see continued bullish momentum and the true structure forming. Okay, does this make sense, chat? Okay, perfect. Nice, simple plan. The next pair that we'll take a look at is USD JPY. Now, looking at the structure of this market, we have a downtrend that potentially went into a reversal phase or definitely was affected by some sort of news. And then we can now start to see a correction in this market again, meaning are we continuing this downtrend after this impulse move up? And is this the correction of this impulse move? Now, based on past history, more often than not, this is the case, but we can't confirm that yet. So what we'll have to monitor now is how price starts to create structure. A couple of levels that we need to look at is this major low. If the downtrend is going to continue, What you must be wary of is taking any sells into this key level, finding a reaction, and then seeing the market turn back on you. I personally would say if you're looking for continued sells on a break and retest, you'll be looking for price to break this structure, especially from a high time frame perspective, looking for the retest and then the continuations to some of these lows here for your break-even trades, or if you're scaling down potential targets. And if the market is going to continue in this downtrend, as we have seen it's moving to the downside, understand as long as price stays below this level, then I would say we're still sell bias as opposed to buy bias. Now, in terms of buy bias structure, would I buy off of this level? Personally, not. What I would say is if we get a reaction from this level, you could look for the first higher low to form to confirm a range and then potentially look to buy back to the highs. But I wouldn't say a trend has started, a bullish trend has started just yet. So I personally would say sell bias is where I'm going with this one for now. And probably on Tuesday, if the market starts to come back to some of these highs here, I'd potentially be looking for a retest of this level and then a continuation down. Okay. Now, I don't know the strength of the yen right now to say why the dollar is showing signs of strength with the pound showing weakness with the euro. It would make sense that the yen is stronger at this moment in time than the dollar, but we'll have to take a look at another pair to gauge that. But I think for now, I would say I'm more sell bias for the next 24 hours and then take it from Monday morning when we do the analysis and see where the market is at. I think this is a fine plan simply because there's really not too much we can work from here other than the fact that we had this brick wall break. Okay. We had this impulse move and an immediate correction coming off of the back of a downtrend. Yeah. So that's what I would say for USD JPY. Who agrees? Okay. Perfect. Now, looking at Euro JPY, what did we see with Euro USD? Well, we saw Euro strength. What are we seeing with USD JPY? Well, we're seeing yen strength. Okay. Now, what do we see here? Well, let's try to figure this out. We can see that the market was ranging for a very long period of time, around the middle of this month. We finally had a break close below these structures here, as you can see, indicating this sell pressure. Now, this breakout really pushed to the downside. We made a lower high, but we failed to maintain that sell structure, which we were looking for, which is a lower low, lower high formation. I'm not saying we were looking for it, but what we would be looking for. Immediately after price broke out, created a first lower high structure. It failed to make a new low, and now we've had this really strong push to the upside. Now, there's not been too many pullbacks, and there's not been too many signs of a clear trend forming. What this is showing is really strong euro pressure in the market, or euro currency, or euro strength of the market, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now, what we can see here from Euro USD is also euro strength. At this moment in time, there's just a few factors I would personally consider. Have we taken out the previous high to continue that uptrend after this breakout and this rally to the downside? No. Are we creating new structural higher highs and higher lows? Well, no, but we can't disregard euro strength. Is this the first sign of a higher low that will then create the new higher high eventually? Maybe. Only thing is, if we buy this market, we have to be careful of buying into this key level, which could then form a potential reaction and then see the market push to the downside. And personally, I'm not sure how I would feel about price breaking this potential range and then breaking back in and now sitting in the middle of nowhere. So now I'm just speaking out loud because I'm trying to gather my thoughts to make sense of this, because this is not easy structure to follow. And more often than not, when structure is formed like this, you're just going to let it go. But as obviously we're doing the weekly outlooks, I will give you a bias. So I guess I'll work with a structural high or low. I would mark this as a level just in case price does break this. Then I would start to visualize a low, low, lower high formation and a downtrend. And I'll mark the major structural low here where we can see potential targets if we break these lows. Okay. So I'd say this is more of a plan B than a plan A. I'd say we'd have to respect the fact that the market is trending up. Price did put in a slight double bottom here with these levels created, levels respected. And now we're starting to form higher lows or breaking previous structural highs, which is here. Now, if you understand structure, you'll understand on a lower time frame, this would have been a downtrend that's now being broken and turning into an uptrend. So just look at this from a lower time frame perspective, you have this downward movement, and now you have price breaking these structures, and you start to see these higher highs, higher lows. Okay. I would say personally, to be on the safe side here and not to try to anticipate too much, I personally would just wait for price to break this structure. I think that's the simplest plan based on the movement of the market, and just look for a retest and a continuation to the upside. I think it's a big ask for the simple fact that we do have history here showing that price is not breaking above these key levels. I don't really want to work with past history, neither do I do it normally, but there is a strong sign that price is failing to break and we cannot disregard that. So I reckon if this structure on the euro is going to continue to show its strength, breaks and closes above with a strong candle, not this, a strong candle, then there's a very strong chance we're going to continue to push up. From a high time frame perspective, I would be looking for a retest and a continuation if given that evidence. Now, in terms of lower time frame traders, those that are scaling down, I'm really not sure what to work with here. Because there's no true structure that has formed. So I would say let's just wait patiently for this one to develop on Monday and then go from there. Okay. Does everybody agree with this one? Understand why I've broken it down the way I have? Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at the next pair. So the next pair that we're taking a look at is Euro Pound. Now, what do we say? If the market is showing strong, if the currencies are strong, i.e. euro and pound or pound and euro or whatever currencies, more often than not, you're going to see the market do what? Range. So we've seen for at least the middle of the month, euro strength and pound strength. And look what's happened. The market has just literally been ranging, moving sideways for the majority of the month, or the middle of the month, shall we say, up until now. But on Friday, we had a really strong rally to the upside. Now, this, by the looks of it, is news inflicted. And personally, I'm not going to say that I'll be looking for buys on Euro Pound just because of this move. I would take into account that this is a major structural high and this is a major structural low. In terms of a trend, do you see one for a high time frame perspective? I don't think so. I think as the market is moving down here, you can definitely take advantage of these moves from a lower time frame perspective. But I think from a higher time frame perspective, we're not really trending, are we? We're ranging, we're moving sideways. I reckon if the currencies continue to remain strong, we could see a reaction from this level, looking for potential sells back down to some of these lows and vice versa. But I think price is too far from this level to even think about buys at this stage or even breakouts and continuations to the downside. I think we'll be playing with the range only. Monitor how price reacts to this level. If you get reactions, then I'd look for price to create some sort of movement first. Start kicking in those lower time frame trends, looking for those 50% retracement trades or looking for those patterns that we trade back to the downside. Okay, this is how I would plan Euro Pound. Now, the thing is, if the euro is going to continue to show strength, pound USD is showing signs of a depletion in that bullish sentiment, then it would make a lot of sense as to why the euro has rallied, okay? Meaning that if price does break above this structure, I think that it's safe to say we would be going for a break and retest of this structure to the upside, simply because what we're seeing with the pound on pound USD and the signs of this pound, well, not pound weakness, but a depletion in that pound strength. So this would make a lot of sense also. I'll give you a simple plan now based on the fact that I've just mentioned the pound USD. I would say for Monday, forget about what I just mentioned in terms of this being a key level range. I'm only focusing on one plan here, is buys. It makes sense as to why. And I think for this, what I'll be looking for is a potential higher low formation. So a retest of this structure in and around these areas here specifically. And I won't go into details as to why I picked that area. You all should know. But in and around these areas here, or I'll be looking for the break, retest, and continuation. I think that makes sense now that I've spoken out loud and gathered my thoughts on it. Yeah, it really does make sense. So we have this break of this structure. It is a beautiful, clean break. I reckon the retest will be in and around this area here if we have one, or a higher low, or then a break above, retest, continuation. Euro, pound, yes, to the downside. Pound showing weakness on pound USD. Euro showing strength. Okay, let me just look at one thing. Euro strength, yes, to the upside. and then pound USD. Okay, yeah, this makes so much sense. So this is my plan. Does everybody agree with this, or at least understand why I've made this plan? Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at the next pair. This is USD CAD. This one's just going to go in the sin bin and get the red flag. To be honest with you, the markets are doing nothing that's attractive, and we're going to give this one the red flag. Very simple. Next pair we'll take a look at is Aussie Dollar USD. Now be very, very mindful of Aussie Dollar USD, okay? Next week, there is a lot of Aussie Dollar news. It will more often than not, or for the most of us, it will happen when we're sleeping. But I would say just be very cautious, okay? I personally don't like this structure. I'm going to call it, I'm going to give it the red flag as well. And we're going to move on to cleaner structures. Oh, this looks very nice. So look, ladies and gents, we do have a lot of confluence starting to line up now to indicate and support our analysis across the board here. If you can see, we've had pound strength for quite some time. And now what can we see with the market? Well, we can see yen strength kicking in. Now, does that necessarily mean yen strength? No, because we've taken a look at USD JPY. Just as a reminder, we can see that the yen here is strong versus the dollar, versus the euro. It's not so strong. In terms of the pound, it looks stronger. What could that mean? Well, it potentially means that we might be seeing dollar strength, which will validate our pound USD potential reversals. It can also indicate potential pound weakness, which will also confirm our USD yen strength. And then it could indicate for us also potential all it's confirming now, gathering all those thoughts, is potential pound weakness. Okay, I hope that made sense. All it is potentially showing us is pound weakness. So based on that information, I would say that I'm going to go very confidently with sell bias on this. And whether I'm right or wrong, it doesn't matter. I just want a single bias. And for that reason, I'm going to make my plans. I noticed that this is a major structural high, which means if price starts to break structural lows, there's a strong signs of reversals. And then what you're looking for the market to do is break major key levels, close below, and then look for retest. Very simple pattern, scaling down. You're just looking for the market to break out of structures. You're looking for the market to come back to retest these structures, okay? However you plan to trade, this is down to you. But these key levels, you must always bear in mind because they are very important. Once price breaks this structure, then you're looking for price to come back to respect these structures. As you can see, just beautiful break and retest across the board, even here. Okay. Now, with that in mind, I would say as we're in the push phase, I'm going to be looking for a pullback, a retest of structure, or potential lower high. And if the market does continue down, I'll be looking for targets at some of these lows here where we could find our first traffic area. Now, we are reacting to an area to the left here, which I don't really want to highlight, but let's just say if we see these 2 wick rejections, all we need to do is mark them off like so. We don't really need any data to the left like so, and say to ourselves, well, if we're selling this, would we really sell into this wick area? The likely answer is probably no. So what we'll be waiting for is a continuation retest, and then to see the market push to the downside. But obviously we are in a push phase, so let's expect this exhaustion. And if we're looking for this exhaustion, I personally would say the area I would be looking for it is in and around here. Now, this is what I would much prefer to see, this pullback and then this continuation for a break-even range, and then this as a potential final target. This level is not important to me anymore. It just highlighted where we had the previous break, and this is how I would view structure. Either or could play out, and I'll be very happy to see this. And I'll also be very happy to take trades at these levels here if given the evidence. So plan A would make sense, the exhaustion pullback continuation. Plan B would be that price just continues to break the structure or gaps down, and then allow for price to leave, come back, and then continue down. Does this make sense, everybody? Okay, very good. Let's take a look at New Zealand Dollar USD. We're going to have to start scrapping some of these New Zealand dollar pairs, to be honest with you guys. They're not very, I mean, they're not the nicest of pairs to trade, are they? the most I'm going to say about this is clearly trending up. Just, I don't know where you'll find your levels, your retest levels, whatever. So unfortunately, I'm not going to give a bias on this because I'd rather be sure than not sure. But yeah, good luck if you continue buying this one. Next pair we'll take a look at is Euro New Zealand dollar. It's really, really interesting to see Euro strength, right? With Euro pound, Euro JPY, Euro USD, and then to see how the New Zealand dollar has literally been, I wouldn't say battering, but has really been in control of this market for a long time. Now, I don't really focus on fundamentals. As of 2021, I will be focusing a little bit more on it so I understand why the markets are moving the way they are, to see if we can get into some really long-term swing trades to expand our portfolio. But in terms of the information that I have now, I do not have a reason why this has happened. Somebody in the chat may, but I do not. I will follow just simple price action, really respect the fact that the market is trending down and the simple fact that market is now failing to break some of these structural lows. For me personally, the brick wall will need to be broken before I look for any buying opportunities. If this violates for the first time, you know the patterns we'll be looking for, family. And if it doesn't, then we'll just stay strong with a downtrend, look for those break and retest. I think that's the simplest we're going to go on this one for now. We can go into more detail next week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday when we come back on our live sessions. But as of now, I think this will do for Euro New Zealand dollar. So just to get an idea, we're starting to see signs in the pound potentially weakening again. This is just our speculation, looking across the currency pairs, identifying the structure and seeing how price action is moving. But it seems that pound is weakening. Buyers or investors are putting their money elsewhere now for whatever reasons, taking profits. I don't really care. But I think pound is showing signs of weakness. Euro is showing signs of strength and dollar is not really coming through at the moment. Now, just because pound USD may go down, that just could mean because of pound weakness. In terms of euro, let's just bear in mind that it is pretty strong at this moment in time. Yen is coming through as well, but it's only coming through on some of the weaker currencies like USD at this moment in time. That's all we can see. I'm not sure on euro. No, not on euro, just on USD. So I think, to be honest with you, we could safely say that our money would be well invested in sales on USD JPY as of Monday, if given the evidence with the currency strength. Euro, we can't disregard the strength of the euro at this moment in time. Just because yen might be stronger than the dollar and it may go down, it doesn't mean that the yen's going to be strong versus a euro. So I personally would stick to my plans and look for the buyers on this with the break retest and the continuation. Euro pound makes so much sense as to why we could continue to see buys next week, simply because we are seeing pound weakness across the board. And we know that the euro is probably the strongest currency out of the lot as of now. So the pullback, the retest and continuation would be really, really attractive. And if it doesn't pull back for whatever reason, because of the gaps to the upside or continuous bullish momentum, just be waiting for the breaks and the retest of the structure. USD CAD have given a red flag because, to be honest with you, I'm not sure what the structure is telling me. Even though I can see it's trickling to the downside, it's just not clean. And also with Aussie Dollar USD. Now, there's a lot of Aussie Dollar news next week. I don't really want to make a bias because one of those news events could literally slam the market down or to the upside. And plus, there's no higher highs or higher low formations that I really want to work with in terms of breaks and retests. So I'm just going to leave this one alone for a little while. In terms of this, I think this analysis is absolutely perfect. And I think I might be focusing my attention on maybe a long-term hold next week on pound JPY, showing signs of pound weakness and slight strength with yen. I personally would be looking for sells as of obviously Monday/Tuesday. If it changes, then I'll change with it, right? Always adapting and tweaking and just try and be in rhythm with the market. But I think the pullback retest is something that really, really attracts me. And if not, we have the gap down, then I'll be looking for the break and retest. I think that'll be really interesting to see what happens next week. New Zealand Dollar USD is clearly bullish. Don't ask me why. As I said, I'm really not sure why. But in terms of New Zealand dollar, it is very strong. In terms of Euro New Zealand dollar is very strong. So I think buy bias on this all the way until we have a true reversal. How you get into this market, I really don't know, guys. But if you do, well done. And in terms of Euro New Zealand dollar, I'll stick to New Zealand dollar strength as of now, even though I know the euro is strong. Clearly, New Zealand dollar is doing something that we don't know, or we do know and we don't know. So I'll be looking just for a break of the lows, a retest, and then a potential continuation if given the evidence. I'd need to see some substantial break from this level, allow price to leave and then come back and retest. If the reversal happens, and I don't think this will happen until Wednesday, to be honest with you, looking at the break, 4-hour candle close, leave another 4, come back, etc., etc. You get the point. We're looking at least 12, 14, 12, 16, 20, 24 hours before that structure forms. So that's the analysis on the 10 pairs this week. I hope that was useful, and I wish everybody a fantastic trading week.